When did you next hear from Lee? Did you hear from him while he was in Russia?
Now we will get to the very important part of the story.
Yes, ma'am.
I had no contact with Lee at all. Mr. Fannin of the FBI, this was in February, I called him because after reading the stories again, I thought I read that the FBI was investigating the family background as in the service, but it was the State Department that the paper had said was investigating his background. So I called the FBI in Fort Worth and wanted to know. So Mr. Fannin is the FBI agent whom I talked to.
What did he tell you?
Mr. Fannin came out to the house, and I had all of these newspaper clippings and everything. He said, "Miss Oswald, it looks like the boy wanted to go there. And since I had no contact, he recommended that I get in touch with some senators and congressmen and people who could help me, because we had extenuating circumstances in the case by now. Lee's mail was coming to the house, and because I had no contact with him, I was taking charge of Lee's mail. I received a letter from the... Before I say this, I must say this, and it is just too bad that I don't have this letter. It was in Lee's Seabag.
Mm-hmm.
Lee wrote before I wrote him about my accident. Now I have to remember.
Okay.
Lee wrote me that he was thrilled to death and happy because the Albert Schweitzer College in Switzerland had accepted him as a student. I received a letter in Lee's name, well, I had no contact with Lee, from the Albert Schweitzer College in Switzerland about Lee's itinerary. And I forgot to tell you that Lee had told me that he had put a deposit with the Albert Schweitzer College, and happy that they accepted him. I received this letter, Lee received this letter from the Albert Schweitzer College, hoping that his itinerary would get him there a little earlier, because the semester, or later, I forget which, because of the semester would be delayed or brought forward. The itinerary stated, now I am not too sure about this, however, I have this information, that he was going to Finland, Sweden, Denmark, or maybe vice versa, I don't know my history, and then to Switzerland, to the Albert Schweitzer College. Since I had this information and it did not agree with the newspaper story that he had defected, I immediately began to think that there was something wrong, that maybe the ship he was on, I didn't know. We use hypnotism. He could have been hypnotized and brought to Russia. There's many ways that a boy on a ship could have got to Russia and not intended to go there. I do not say, and I do not know whether he intended to go to Russia. But the story about wanting to work on a ship, of course, he knew now he couldn't go to Albert Schweitzer College, understand? Because of my needing his help. He was going to work on a ship. I called Mr. Fannin. He came out to the house, and when I showed him this information, he said, "Miss Oswald, things do not look right. I recommend that you get in touch with some." I said, "Well, would you help me there, please?"